Well, it's November 22nd, 2022. That day will live in infamy for our generation, certainly. November 22nd, 1963, shortly after noon in Dallas, Texas, is when President John F. Kennedy was assassinated. I lived about 6 blocks from Daley Plaza, and I would walk down there all the time, and I can tell you when I walked behind the grassy knoll fence into that parking lot back there, I would get absolute blood-curdling chills down my spine. I never was able to go back there that I didn't get those chills. On that date, November 22nd, 1963, at 12:30 p.m., the sun was at 29 degrees 44 minutes, still in Scorpio, not quite yet into Sagittarius. It would enter later that night. Interesting that Neptune was in the sign of Scorpio, right in the middle of the sign, 15 degrees. The truth about the assassination has been shrouded since all these years. Also of note on that day that Pluto and Uranus were in a 5-degree separated conjunction in Virgo, sextile to that Neptune, adding to the secrecy and the shroud, and also that Uranian moment of this was not normal. A couple of other things that were in place that day is Saturn and the moon were both in Aquarius. So Saturn was in its own sign, just as it is today. They were in a wide conjunction, 17 degrees Saturn, 11 degrees the moon, so 6 degrees of separation. And there were 2, not 1, 2 YODs in that chart, indicating that something transhuman, something karmic, something beyond us was going on that day. So as we move today from Scorpio into Sagittarius, we can take a look back, obviously in silent reflection for a moment of what happened there, and also for where we are today, because a lot of the deception that was represented on that day in that chart has continued throughout the 60 years of history since. And it kind of brings us to how we might approach this Sagittarius season's arrival, which happened this morning at 3:20 Eastern Time. So basically, as you are hearing this, the sun is already in Sagittarius now. But honestly, I had not thought to incorporate the Kennedy assassination into today's chart, but it just kind of was there. So in the idea of synchronicities and following intuitive prompts, well, let's just explore this. It came up and out for a reason. There are no YODs today, and as we begin the day, the sun, as I just mentioned, is already in Sagittarius. Of course, the other 2 planets left behind in Scorpio are the south node of the moon and the moon itself. So there definitely is a karmic representation still in the sign of Scorpio. I still like the interpretation that we've been on the theme for the last several days together, is that we've been doing this deep work in Scorpio. And now we move into Sagittarius, and we get to celebrate the work that we've done in Scorpio. But the world was a tense place back in 1963. We had just come through that other nuclear scare in the United States, the Bay of Pigs, the Cuban crisis. Vietnam was in its infancy, and in fact, Kennedy was trying to tap it out. The war machine wouldn't have that. And obviously today, things in our world are pensive. Show you how little things have changed in 60 years. The aggressor, of course, back then was Russia, at least with the Cuban situation. Vietnam, different story. Now, let's roll this forward. We had a wonderful Level Up meeting on Facebook and the YouTube channel Sunday night. If you didn't catch it live, I would encourage you to go back and watch the replay. It was all about moving energy out into the world that can change the course of history. And I just want to be crazy enough to think that we could do that energetically. Sagittarius, which the sun is in now, is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter in its core, Sagittarius in its characteristics, has a very highly spiritual component about it. Many spiritual leaders, pastors, etc., are Sagittarians or have a significant Jupiter in their charts indicating the conveyance of a message or a focus on spirituality. Jupiter was the ancient ruler of Pisces, also a very spiritually connected sign. And today, Jupiter and Neptune are together in Pisces, indicating Unlike back in 1963, we have the opportunity to shift things to this very positive spiritual outcome. See, 1963, I think, was the beginning of a dark era of government deception. I mean, look at what happened since. The 10-year-plus war that followed was one big lie. The president who ended that war was caught in a big lie. And for the sake of time, I won't list a dozen other things that we could mention between now and then to bring us up to date. But when we think about integrity and government in the same sentence, we all kind of roll our eyes, don't we? A lot of that was magnified, not originated. It was there all the way back, but it certainly was amplified into modern times post-Kennedy assassination. And I mean every day, including holidays, you go to Daley Plaza and there are hundreds of people touring the plaza, walking around, and all of them looking up, looking at the X in the street, looking around and shaking their heads. So we have a new anvil of opportunity. We have a new platform. We have today. We have Jupiter and Neptune in Pisces. And now, with the sun having exited Scorpio and in the new sign of Sagittarius, we can take the next 30 days to celebrate the work that we've been doing, and then we can roll it forward into this new realm of heightened spiritual awareness that is where we are headed now. So let us not let the age of deception continue. Let's do our part, exactly what we talked about on Sunday night, by sending love and healing into the world, by envisioning what the new world looks like, and by creating this high level of new, heightened spirituality. That's the purpose of this Sagittarius season. Will you join me? Thank you.